A spokesman for Prince Andrew today declined to comment after a woman who claims she was brought to the UK as a teenager to have sex with him filed a lawsuit alleging he sexually abused her. Ms Giuffre has previously said she was forced to have sex with the Duke when she was 17 after being introduced by the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. In a 15-page lawsuit filed yesterday, she accuses Prince Andrew of sexual abuse, alleging that he assaulted her in London, New York and on Epstein's private Caribbean island. Prince Andrew has repeatedly denied the allegations, saying he's got no recollection of ever meeting her, despite the existence of this photo apparently showing them together. In 2019, he told Newsnight that Ms Giuffre's claims never happened.
She says she met you in 2001. She says she dined with you, danced with you at Tramp nightclub in London. She went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell, your friend. Your response?
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
You don't remember meeting her?
No.
She says she met you in 2001. She dined with you. She danced with you. You bought her drinks. You were in Tramp nightclub in London. And she went on to have sex with you in a house in Belgravia belonging to Ghislaine Maxwell.
Didn't happen.
Do you remember her?
No.
Before we came on air, I spoke to Virginia Giuffre's attorney, David Boyes, and I asked him what he and Ms Giuffre sought to gain from this civil lawsuit.
I think what she wants, first and foremost, is vindication. I think first and foremost, she wants to call Prince Andrew to account in court and to allow a jury and a judge to determine the truth of her accusations. I think that she's tried every way she can to resolve this short of litigation. But at this point, litigation is the only way to establish once and for all what the truth is. And litigation is the only way to establish once and for all what Prince Andrew's evidence actually is. Thus far, he's not been required to come forward and state his defense subject to cross-examination. Litigation will require him to do that. I think secondarily, she's looking to be compensated for the damage that she's done, that has been done to her. As you know, she has donated a significant amount of money from the recoveries that she has previously received from Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to her charitable a foundation that is dedicated to trying to help victims of sex trafficking. And I think that she wants to further those goals as well. And finally, I think she wants to send a message to every rich and powerful person who engages in sex trafficking and abuses young girls that this is not acceptable, and that you cannot hide behind wealth and power and palace walls. You will be held to account for your actions in a court of law, and it will be up to a jury to decide your fate.
He's repeatedly denied the allegations. What if Prince Andrew simply takes no notice of this lawsuit?
I think it would be very ill-advised for Prince Andrew to ignore judicial process.
But what if he does?
He can ignore me.
What if he does?
Well, if he does, it's going to be a default judgment against him that can be enforced not only in the United States, but in virtually every civilized country in the world. You ignore the law and you ignore the courts at your peril. You can ignore me, you can ignore Virginia, but you can't ignore the courts. And if he thumbs his nose at the courts the way he's thumbed his nose at the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking, I think he will find that is not a desirable outcome.
You mentioned compensation a few moments ago. What figure do you have in mind?
We don't have a figure. I think we're comfortable letting a jury decide that.
But what do you think would be reasonable?
Again, I think that's for a jury to decide. What I will say is that there are two kinds of damages that we'll be seeking. One is compensatory damages, damages to compensate Virginia, and the other is punitive damages, which are damages to deter such conduct in the future. I believe that each of those categories of damages will be substantial, but I think that's the province of the jury and the judgment of the jury, and I'm prepared and comfortable, and I believe Virginia is too, leaving that decision to the sound judgment of the jurors.
But I'm going to press you, if I may, Mr. Boyes. Are you thinking about
Yes,
£1 million
sure.
or 5 million, 10 million?
Well, you can press, and you're a good reporter, and I appreciate the desirability of doing that. But what I'm trying to say is that for me, that in this case is the province of the jury, and I'm not going to presume to predict what the jury will do. I'm not going to presume to say what I think the jury should do.
And finally, are you planning to send a representative to the UK to serve the papers on Prince Andrew personally, or to one of his representatives?
No, there is a process under the Hague Convention for that to happen. We would not be sending an individual to do that personally.
Can he be forced to appear before a jury in the States?
That's an interesting question. If he doesn't appear, he can be held in, and if he's ordered to appear and doesn't appear, he can be held in contempt. And again, finding of contempt can carry both potential damages and even potential incarceration. Now, whether a court would order him to actually appear in court as opposed to give evidence, I think is going to be up to the judge. A judge can excuse his appearance at court, and a judge might do that in this particular case. However, he would still have to give evidence. That would be taken in the form of a deposition under oath prior to trial, and that deposition would then be introduced in evidence.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Mr. Boyes. Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Prince Andrew has repeatedly denied the allegations against him. A spokesman for the Duke today said there was no comment to the new lawsuit. In a statement following Newsnight's interview back in 2019, Prince Andrew said he regretted his ill-judged association with Jeffrey Epstein. He added that he would be willing to cooperate with any appropriate law enforcement agency if required.